I'm Michael Brook, and welcome to the latest instalment of No Ticket Required, the Waterman's regular online film group that meets to discuss an outstanding example of international cinema. Now, you don't often see British films put forward for the Best International Feature Film Oscar, for the obvious reason that such films have to be primarily in a language other than English to qualify. However, since 1991 we've nominated no fewer than 17 films for consideration, 2 of which even made the final 5, Endaf Emlin's Heth Wyn in 1993 and Paul Morrison's Solomon and Gaynor in 1999. Unsurprisingly, the majority have been in Welsh, but not all. And although the film we're going to be discussing in this latest edition of No Ticket Required is part Welsh, it was shot entirely in Zambia and is largely in the Bemba language. This is courtesy of the background of writer-director Rungano Nyoni, who was born in Zambia and emigrated to Wales with her parents when she was 9. She initially trained as an actor, briefly fantasising about becoming the new Isabelle Huppert before realising that her talent wasn't up to it. So instead she moved behind the camera, writing and/or directing a number of acclaimed short films from 2009 onwards. Unsurprisingly, it took her several years to raise funds to make her feature debut, but she was at least able to pull it off with no creative compromises. A huge fan of such fiercely independent-minded filmmakers as Michael Haneke, Yorgos Lanthimos and Thomas Vinterberg, she was also acutely conscious that she needed a similar amount of creative freedom in order to tell stories rooted in her native culture that we haven't heard before. Here's the trailer.
Nindo shumwana oyo tatuishiva okwafuma
apa nomba chiri kuliwe nomba okusalapo kuba embushi ate mukuba endoshi nga wasala okuba embushi walaputula entambo lero nga wasala okuba endoshi otwala kusanga n'entambo yobe ekyemuli endoshi umu shula oli kaloshikandiwe wina nutwala bomba nomba wonsai
ine nalinga iwelo nali mwachinaye na ushicho nabera so mulantu fyose fe balenjeba nalechita so nawe nga wakula ichinti koleshita fyose fe wakweba naye ongabanga ine limbe ukanchira nokunchira.
Shula, how are you settling into your new life?
Oh, I know what'll cheer her up. Why don't we take a picture together? Look at the camera.
Mona.
I'll send it to you.
In The Observer, Mark Kermode described the end result as bewilderingly strange and yet terrifically sure-footed, and that's absolutely true. One of the toughest of all creative challenges involves delving into a culture, a complex culture, that may well be completely alien to most of the target audience, and presenting it in such a way that the likes of us can identify with what's going on without the film having to resort to simplistic and patronising stereotypes. I'm a huge fan of the films of Paolo and Vittorio Taviani, who managed this brilliantly in such films as Padre Padrone and Chaos, which dug deep into the folklore of Sardinia and Sicily. And when I say that I Am Not a Witch reminds me of their work, that's about as high as praise gets. Like the Taviani's films, it's also often very funny, although Nyoni has said that the film has garnered different reactions in different places. What Zambian audiences have found uproarious has been greeted with more embarrassed reactions elsewhere, and she found that she had to explain that it was okay to laugh. She's not mocking Zambians themselves, but the way that misogyny seeps into so much of the culture and legal system that it gives rise to these absurd situations. To quote her directly, "I'm challenging the ignorance that gives life to absurdities that target people based on class or gender. There's no point in being afraid to talk about this openly, and nor do I see any reason not to mock this horrible, silly, exploitative practice." You may well be reminded of Monty Python during the actual witch trial scenes, and you're supposed to. Both Nyoni and the Pythons were mocking very similar real-life incidents. It's a mark of the film's visual and conceptual confidence that it never falls back on simplistic finger-wagging lectures, although clearly there's going to be a huge amount to discuss when we get together online for the next No Ticket Required. And here are the instructions for joining.